Hi, my name is Kemlyn Hill. I'm a speech language pathology major at Bloomsburg University. For my presentation, I decided to combine what I'm studying with something that connects to international relations. So I'm talking about global communication access and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is called the CRPD. I chose this topic because communication is the whole point of my major, and I think a lot of people don't realize how different communication access can be around the world. Some countries do amazing work while others barely have anything in place, and that gap is something international relations tries to deal with. Right now, 430 million people worldwide have disabling hearing loss. By 2050, the World Health Organization says that number could grow to almost 1 in every 10 people on the planet. But the even bigger problem is that millions of these people don't get the help they need. They're missing things like affordable hearing aids, speech therapy, sign language interpreters, captioning, and even basic hearing screenings for kids. And when you don't have access to communication, it affects everything: school, work, social life, and even your safety. So this isn't a small issue, it's actually a global one that affects people's whole lives. So, one of the biggest things the world has done to fix this problem is the CRPD, which the United Nations created back in 2006. More than 180 countries agreed to it, so it's not just some random document, it's something most of the world is trying to follow. The CRPD says that people with disabilities should have the same rights, the same opportunities, and the same access as everyone else. It covers education, healthcare, transportation, communication, and a lot of other areas. Basically, it gives countries guidelines on how to support people with disabilities and include them in society. Since my major deals with communication, this part stood out to me the most. The CRPD specifically talks about communication access and encourages countries to do things like recognize sign languages and treat them like real languages, provide interpreters at schools, hospitals, and events, add captioning on TV, videos, and online content, and make hearing aids, cochlear implants, and speech generating devices more affordable. And honestly, these things make a massive difference. For example, if a kid with hearing loss can't get a hearing aid or speech therapy when they're young, they're already starting school behind everyone else. When they do get access, their whole life can change, academically, socially, and emotionally. In countries with strong disability policies, communication access is a priority. For example, Sweden gives free hearing aids and support to children and heavily supports adults too. Canada, which has strong captioning laws and accessibility standards for media and public services. The United States, which has the ADA, which is the Americans Disabilities Act, meaning things like interpreters and captionings are required in many situations. Even the United Nations, during big global meetings, provides interpreters, captioning, and other supports so people with disabilities can participate. But then there are places where access is really limited. Some examples include Nigeria, where around 23 million people have hearing loss, but there are less than 500 audiologists to help them. India, which has around 60 million people with hearing problems, but still don't have enough trained professionals to support them. Bangladesh, which hearing aids cost more than the whole month's salary for an average person. And Sub-Saharan Africa, where there are fewer than 50 audiologists for over a billion people. These examples show that where you live completely changes how much help you can get. So, what causes these inequalities? There are a few major challenges. There are a lack of trained professionals, so many countries don't have enough speech language pathologists or audiologists. Some have none at all. The cost of hearing aids can cost between $1,000 to $10,000. For families in low-income countries, that's impossible. In some cultures, disabilities are seen as something shameful, so families hide their kids instead of getting them help. And government priorities, a lot of governments don't put accessibility high on their list. They focus on other things and leave disability services underfunded. So while the CRPD sets international standards, the reality is that millions are still left without access. Now, how does this fit in international relations? We always hear the phrase, communication is power, and that's really true. If someone can't communicate, they're shut out of so many things: school, healthcare, jobs, and government services. On a bigger scale, people with disabilities are often left out of political conversations, international meetings, and decision making. They don't get the same voice, and that's a huge problem. Countries working together through treaties like the CRPD help create global pressure to improve. Some countries get funding, training programs, or share technology from other nations. So, international relations is a huge part of making sure communication access becomes more equal worldwide. When nations work together to support disability rights, they give people the resources to be active in society. But when they fail, millions of voices will stay silent. The CRPD has helped bring attention to disability rights. It has encouraged countries to focus on communication access, and some places have made really amazing progress. But there are still huge gaps. Wealthier countries have tons of resources while low-income countries struggle with almost everything. From costs to training to basic awareness, international relations can help fix these differences through cooperation, funding, and global agreements like the CRPD. And honestly, I think communication is something everyone deserves access to. It affects your relationships, your education, and your whole future. At the end of the day, international relations isn't just about politics. It's about making sure every voice is heard.